From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. This is Dateline Malacañang, and I'm your host, Leo Magpayo. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday urged newly commissioned officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, to remain non-partisan and uphold integrity amid corruption challenges confronting government institutions. Speaking at the Major Services Officer Candidate Course Joint Graduation Ceremony at the Villamor Air Base in Pasay City, President Marcos reminded the 638 graduates that their loyalty must rest solely with the Republic. The President's call comes as his administration intensifies its campaign against anomalies, particularly corruption in flood control projects. President Marcos emphasized that the AFP must set the standard at a time when public trust is strained. The chief executive warned that dishonesty can take many forms and that officers will face moments testing their integrity. Highlighting the moral discipline expected of military officers, President Marcos said integrity is carried in their uniform. The ceremony featured the Philippine Air Force Kahimdalian Class 2025, Philippine Navy Sagmaraya Class 2025, and Philippine Army Bumanawag Class 2025. President Marcos also awarded top graduates and presented diplomas to class presidents. President Marcos Jr. assured the AFP of the government's commitment to modernization, citing investments in radar systems, ships, aircraft, facilities, and strengthened security partnerships with allies such as Japan, the United States, and Australia. The Philippine President concluded by reminding officers that their mission extends beyond combat to disaster response, election security, and service to remote communities, ultimately to maintain peace and build the nation.
More than this, the AFP that you are part of now must always rise above politics. Your loyalty must not be for any individual or any faction, but only to the Republic. The time and effort that you have spent in this course has taught you that by becoming full-fledged officers, your integrity is carried in your uniform and rank. Sa panahon ngayon, kung kailan maraming Pilipino ang nangangailangan ng katapatan at katapangan sa serbisyo, kayo ang unang magiging halimbawa sa kanilang lahat. As your Commander-in-Chief, I promise that this government remains committed to building a modern and professional armed force. We continue to invest in radar systems, ships, aircraft, facilities that will strengthen our deterrence and improve disaster response. We also deepen our partnerships with other countries such as Japan, the United States, Australia, as well as other allies to better protect our shared peace and our stability. Ladies and gentlemen, graduates, wherever you may be assigned, on land, at sea, in the air, remember that your mission will go beyond completing missions. Ultimately, it will be about maintaining peace and building a nation.
Was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered the suspension of the complete disability discharge or CDD of an Army officer who was permanently blinded in combat, stressing that wounded personnel must not be dismissed after sacrificing for the country. In a video message released Monday, the president said he was moved by the viral post of Captain Jerome Hakuba, who signed off from service following his discharge due to complete disability. Hakuba lost his sight after a bomb explosion during an anti-terrorism mission in Mindanao. President Marcos directed Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Bronner to suspend the discharge order, promote Hakuba to the rank of major, and assign him to adaptive duties that would make use of his 15 years of military experience. The Commander-in-Chief also instructed Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. to review the CDD policy to prevent similar cases of injured soldiers being removed from service without proper recognition or support. The chief executive emphasized that the government remains committed to honoring the sacrifices of wounded personnel and ensuring that disability does not mark the end of their service to the nation.
Po ay tungkol sa isang magiting na sundalo natin na si Captain Jerome Hakuba, ODAS 146467 Philippine Army. Kung nakita nyo po, ang ating butihing kapitan ay nabulag dahil nasabugan po ng bomba. Nagjo-duty siya at ito yung nangyari sa kanya. Ngunit pagkatapos siyang nabulag, ay nabigyan siya ng tinatawag na CDD or Complete Disability Discharge. Ibig sabihin, hindi na siya pwede sa military dahil nga hindi na siya pwede sa combat operation at nabulag na nga siya. Nung nakita ko yung video niya at pinag-isipan ko yung mga nangyari sa kanya ay parang hindi tama. Dahil ito ay isang opisyal na itinaya na nga niya ang buhay niya para sa duty na para ipagtanggol ang Pilipinas. At dahil sa ganyan ay basta't bibitawan na lang natin. Ay hindi naman yata makatarungan yan. Kaya binigyan ko ng instruction ang ating Chief of Staff na isuspindi na yung CDD ni Captain Hakuba. Bukod pa doon ay dapat ibigyan siya ng promotion dahil sa katapangan niya at gawin na siyang major. At maghanap po tayo ng mga iba't ibang posisyon na pwede pa naman siya yung ating mga tinatawag na the major adaptive duties. Kasi kahit kahit nabulag na po, marami pa ring duty na pwedeng gawin ng isang sundalo, lalong-lalo na sa isang sundalo na may 15 years na experience. Maraming maidadagdag at maitutulong sa atin yan. In-instruction ko rin ang ating Secretary of National Defense na pag-aralan ulit itong polisiya natin para hindi naman mangyari ulit ito na ang isang sundalo natin na nasaktan dahil sa sakripisyo niya, dahil ginagawa niya ang duty niya para ipagtanggol ang Pilipinas, ay basta't pagka nasaktan ay basta't bibitawan na lang natin. Hindi naman tama yun. Kaya gagawa po tayo ng bagong polisiya sa CDD sa lalong madaling panahon. Ito ay para sa lahat ng ating mga sundalo na dahil sa ka-duty nila sila ay nasaktan, sila ay nagka-injury, ay dapat naman patuloy din ang ating pagkilala sa kanilang katapangan at sa kanilang sakripisyo.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang on Monday said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. personally initiated the investigation into anomalous flood control projects, leading to arrests, filed cases, and efforts to recover public funds. underscoring his commitment to accountability. In a press briefing, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro stressed that the administration's crackdown on irregular flood control projects was launched on the President's directive. Since the probe began, the Office of the Ombudsman has charged and jailed several individuals allegedly involved in ghost and anomalous projects, just months after President Marcos's fourth State of the Nation address last July. The cases were recommended by the Department of Public Works and Highways or DPWH and the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI, which the President tasked to review infrastructure projects from the past decade and gather evidence against those who misused public funds. Castro noted that the chief executive's decisive actions highlight his resolve to pursue accountability, adding that several high-profile and influential figures have already been charged and arrested as a result of the ongoing investigations.
Tandaan po natin, ang Pangulo ang nagpasimula nito. Hindi mabubukas ang ating isipan, hindi mabubukas ang ating mga mata, hindi mabubukas ang ating tenga kung hindi mismo si Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang nagpasimula ng pag-iimbestiga na ito. Nais ng Pangulo na managot ang dapat na managot. At his weakest, ito pa bang panahon na to na siya po ang nagpaimbestiga? Hanggang ngayon po, maraming ginagawang aksyon para mapanagot ang dapat na mapanagot. Ang dami na po na napaaresto, marami na po rin na kinasuhan, marami na po na naibalik na pondo. Ito pa ba yung weakest na masasabi natin? Meron na pong kilala, mga ma-impluwensyang tao na ngayon ay nakakulong na. Yan pa po ba ang sinasabi natin at his weakest?
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Malacañang announced the opening of a new Kadiwa ng Pangulo Center at the Clark Special Economic Zone in Pampanga Province, expanding the government's program to provide affordable food items, particularly for minimum wage earners in the area. Alongside the launch, the flagship initiative, Benteng Bigas Meron Na, was rolled out, offering rice at 20 pesos per kilogram to vulnerable groups. In a Palace Press briefing, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro said the project reflects President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s goal of bringing the spirit of Christmas to workers. Department of Agriculture or DA Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. led the inauguration of the outlet and the rice program, which benefits senior citizens, persons with disabilities, solo parents, 4-piece beneficiaries, indigenous peoples, minimum wage workers, farmers, fisherfolk, transport workers, DSWD Walang Gutom Program recipients, and low-income families. According to the DA, the program will prioritize low-salaried workers identified by the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE and the Clark Development Corporation or CDC, covering the Freeport's 151,000 workers. The event also featured the turnover of CDC's state-of-the-art tissue culture laboratory designed to boost the DA's research capacity, improve planting materials, and support sustainable food production.
Bilang tugon sa hangarin ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na maiparamdam ang tunay na diwa ng Pasko, isang pamaskong handog para sa mga manggagawa ang isinagawa ng Clark Development Corporation o CDC kaninang umaga sa Pampanga, kung saan bida ang Kadiwa ng Pangulo program. Dumalo sa nasabing okasyon si Department of Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. at Department of Labor and Development Central Luzon Director Geraldine Panlilio. Katuwang ng CDC ang DA at ang DOLE sa nasabing kaganapan. Sa parehong pagtitipon, formal na isinagawa ang turnover ng Tissue Culture Laboratory sa DA at ang paglunsad ng kadiwa ng Pangulo sa Clark. Layunin ng kadiwa ng Pangulo sa Clark na maipaabot sa mga manggagawa ang abot-kayang bilihin at suportahan ang mga lokal na produkto ng magsasaka doon. Kasabay nito, namahagi rin ang pamahalaan ng bigas na tig 20 pesos kada kilo. Isinama na rin dito ang minimum wage earners bilang beneficiaries ng kadiwa ng Pangulo sa Clark. Mula kay Pangulong Marcos Jr., maligayang Pasko po sa lahat ng mga manggagawa at sa lahat ng Pilipino.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla on Monday called on overseas Filipinos to assist in locating former Representative Zaldi Ko, who is now considered an international fugitive. In a Malacañang press briefing, Remulla said to please take a photo and post it online so the DILG can track his whereabouts. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. earlier urged Ko to return to the Philippines, assuring the public that the ongoing investigation into flood control projects will reach a credible conclusion. Ko has been implicated in what is described as the country's largest corruption scandal, involving ghost flood control projects under the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, and budget insertions in the House of Representatives. Remulla revealed that Ko is believed to be in Portugal and is suspected of holding dual passports. The DILG chief emphasized that a whole-of-government effort is underway to secure Ko's arrest, with the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, Department of Justice, or DOJ, and the Ombudsman coordinating to ensure his repatriation. He added that the DFA is currently handling the details of the process. Meanwhile, Remulla stressed that those implicated in the Ghost Project controversy will face arrest once the Ombudsman issues warrants. He also reiterated his earlier statement that authorities are pursuing bigger fish involved in the corruption scandal.
Nakikiusap kami sa lahat ng mga Pilipino sa buong mundo na kung makita nila si Zaldi Ko, kung pwede nilang picturean, padala kagad, i-post kagad sa internet para may idea tayo kung nasaan siya. Sa ngayon, ang hinala namin ay nasa Portugal siya at doon po siya naninirahan. Meron naman, it is a whole of government approach to get Zaldi Ko. The DFA, the DILG, the Ombudsman, the DOJ are all working together in order to get a satisfying outcome into the repatriation of Zaldi Ko back to the Philippines. Pagkalam ko na-cancel na yung passport niya. Pagkalam ko lang but you can check again. Pero, again, we believe he's holder of 2 passports Not only a visa, but 2 passports. So, doon yung may complication tayo na konti.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla.
Dateline Malacañang.
The House of Representatives on Monday voted to suspend Cavite 4th District Representative Kiko Barzaga for 60 days without pay, following the recommendation of the Ethics Committee. During the plenary session, 4P's Party List Representative J.C. Abalos presented the panel's findings, which ruled that Barzaga was guilty of disorderly conduct due to allegedly inappropriate social media posts. Out of the voting members, 249 supported the suspension, 11 abstained, and 5 opposed. In his 27-page report, Abalos said Barzaga's actions reflected negatively upon the dignity, integrity, and reputation of the House of Representatives as an institution and of its members individually and collectively. He added that Barzaga's reckless, offensive, and irresponsible use of his social media platform tarnishes the name and integrity of the House. The ethics complaint was filed by members of the National Unity Party, or NUP. The panel cited Barzaga's incendiary social media content and his failure to remove publicly viewable inappropriate photos as unparliamentary and unbecoming of a House member. The House ordered Barzaga to delete 24 flag posts within 24 hours. The Ethics Committee also warned that any repeat of similar misconduct would merit harsher sanctions. Barzaga, for his part, said he is prepared to accept any penalty but maintained that he did not violate the Chamber's Code of Conduct.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, or CFO, is intensifying efforts to connect with more than 10 million Filipinos living and working abroad, placing diaspora engagement at the core of its programs. CFO Secretary Dante Francis Ang II emphasized that the 10.7 million overseas Filipinos are vital partners in nation building beyond their role as economic contributors. In a media forum Monday, Ang said migration enables Filipinos to maximize their educational capital and later contribute to national development. Among the CFO's flagship initiatives is Balink Bayan, an online platform offering government services, investment and entrepreneurship opportunities, donation and volunteer programs, skills and technology transfer, and migration development mainstreaming. Ang also highlighted Linkapil's Balikturo program, which brings Filipino teachers from the U.S. back to the Philippines to teach during visits. The Commission is likewise expanding collaborations with the Department of Science and Technology through the Balik Scientist Program. To deepen diaspora participation, the CFO is rolling out programs on financial literacy, philanthropy, reintegration, and investments in hometown development. A key priority is enhancing the Diaspora to Development, or D2D program, which links overseas Filipinos with grassroots projects in the country. The agency is modernizing its digital platforms to better reach second and third generation migrants seeking to reconnect with their heritage. Its renewed direction aims to strengthen ties with Filipino associations abroad, address emerging migration trends, and safeguard the welfare of Filipinos whether they remain overseas or return home. Ang underscored that sustained diaspora engagement is a strategic national asset, aligning CFO initiatives with the administration's broader development agenda. He added that the Commission's refocused approach highlights, but rather not only the diaspora's economic impact, such as remittances, but also their growing influence in diplomacy, global networks, innovation, arts, culture, and community leadership. Ang said the CFO will continue consulting overseas Filipino communities as it introduces new programs.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.